Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Laura and today I'm going to be filming a video about why I transferred colleges or universities and how I made that decision, what my experience was like. I remember when I was transferring, I remember looking on YouTube for any information that I could get, so I'm just hoping that this video will help somebody who's maybe in a similar boat that I was in 3 and a bit years ago. So just to give a little bit of background, I live in Canada and I transferred when I was in my first year of university, so it was about halfway through my first year, and now I'm finishing up my 4th year, so I'm about to graduate. I have a lot that I can talk about, but I'm going to try and keep this pretty concise. I want to preface this by saying that this was just my experience. Obviously, everybody has a different experience, and I've had so many people reach out to me who are considering a transfer, and obviously it's not the right decision for everybody. I know a lot of people consider transferring when they're at the beginning of their university career. A lot of people don't end up making that decision because they decide that actually where they're at is where they're supposed to be. So I'm just kind of going to be giving my perspective on everything and the experiences that I had, hoping that it can give somebody a little bit more clarity. And the other little preface that I want to make is that I'm not making this video to bash my old school. I will be mentioning both schools that I went to, just because if there are people kind of in the same boat I was in, I want them to know like both sides. So the school that I started at was LAURIER University, which is in Waterloo, Ontario, and then I transferred to the University of Guelph, which is in Guelph, Ontario, and they're only about 30 minutes apart. They're really similar schools. So I'll give a little bit of insight into the pros and cons of both and why I ultimately decided to transfer. So let's rewind to when I was in grade 12. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to study in university. My parents were really adamant that I study business because I had started a business in high school and it was really successful, so I knew that it was something that I was passionate about, but I had never taken a business course for all of high school, which was probably my biggest mistake. I should have just taken like an elective business course, but I didn't. And so that made my decision really scary because I didn't want to commit to 4 years of studying business if I had no idea what it was all about. However, I did do a lot of more creative courses in high school, such as media arts, photography. I was on yearbook, I did a lot of visual arts, so I knew I loved those. So when making my decision, I was really tossing back and forth the idea of studying business or going for something like communications or journalism. And so ultimately I decided to apply half for business programs and half for communications programs. And when it came time to make that decision, I decided on LAURIER because they offered me a communications major with a minor in business, and so to me that was like the perfect mesh together, and that's basically why I made that decision. Now, I was not in love with the campus. It was very small and almost felt like just a extension of high school, I guess you could say. It was just a really small school, and there were definitely campuses I visited that I liked a lot more. One that I always had in the back of my head was GUELPH. However, they didn't have a communications program. I just felt like there was a risk in studying business because I had no idea what it was about. Excuse me. So that's ultimately why I decided on LAURIER. And to be honest, that summer before going to university, all of my friends from high school were so excited about the decision they had made for university, and I just couldn't relate. Like, I was dreading going to school. I was not excited about starting. And I just had this gut feeling that I had made the wrong decision. So fast forward, when I got to school and I started, I pretty much within 2 weeks knew that I had made the wrong choice. I really didn't feel like I fit in on campus with the community that was there. It was very different than what I was looking for. I can't describe it any other way than having just this gut feeling. And I had been visiting the University of Guelph every single weekend because a lot of my high school friends went there. Which brings me to my next point as to why I transferred. A lot of people ask me if my friends had any influence in me deciding to go to Guelph, and I have to say, although it excited me that I had high school friends at that school and it made it feel like the transfer would be easier, it had nothing to do with my decision. I knew that this decision was something that I had to make for myself. I couldn't be making it for anybody else. I really just had to trust my instincts and go with what I was feeling. So the reason that I decided to transfer had so many factors that varied into it. First was the school. I knew that Laurier just was not the community vibe that I was looking for, and Guelph had that vibe. Every time that I was on campus, I just felt so at home and at peace. And the program. So I did not like my communications classes right from the first class. I remember I had this introduction to communications class, and it was 2 hours long, and it was like the longest 2 hours of my life every week. I just could not stand this class, and I thought it was so boring. But I loved my microeconomics and intro to financial accounting courses, which really surprised me because those were for my minor, so I thought that they would be a little bit more boring and dry and more like math, but I actually was super interested in them. And so I really started thinking, okay, I think business is actually the program that would be best for me. And I talked with a friend of mine at Guelph, her name is Kendra, and she was studying real estate in the business school at Guelph, and we just talked and she showed me some of her textbooks, and I remember being like so interested in it. And my family has been in the real estate industry ever since I was born, so it's something that I've always grown up with, but I never really considered it as a career option for myself, kind of just because I thought like, oh, that's my dad's thing. The more that I learned about this Guelph real estate program, the more that I was excited about starting. And it's the only place that you can do a real estate undergraduate degree in all of Ontario, maybe even all of Canada, I'm not sure. But that, I would say, is the biggest deciding factor as to why I transferred. This real estate program is so unique. Some of the courses that I have been able to take are real estate finances, which teaches you how to calculate your mortgage payments, super practical stuff. Sustainable real estate was probably one of my favorite courses of my degree. I'm doing a real estate development project right now where we are given a plot of land and we decide on like how we're going to develop it for its highest and best use. So anyways, probably the biggest reason that I transferred was for that program. I also just like had such a special place in my heart for Guelph, and how I knew that it was the right decision is that every time I would be reminded of the fact that I was going to be going to Guelph after I had made this decision to transfer, I just had like butterflies and I was so excited, and it was that feeling that I wanted to feel after high school when all of my friends were so excited to go away to university. Like I finally had that feeling knowing that I was going to be starting at Guelph that January. And I remember being given a Guelph Griffins sweater that Christmas right before I started there, and just thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm a Griffin, like that is so exciting. I just had this like gut feeling, like that's the only way that I can describe it. Now I know that a really big reason why people decide not to transfer who might have been considering it is because they have like that moment of like, I cannot leave where I'm at. And I know a lot of people who have that like that moment of just feeling like no. So I just want to talk a little bit more about some more like details about my transfer to help any of you, especially if you're living in Canada and trying to figure out the process of transferring. So the application was done through OUAC, which is the same platform that you use to apply for universities when you're coming out of high school. And the only thing that I had to maintain was a 70% grade point average in that first semester that I was at Laurier, which honestly was kind of challenging because a lot of people don't get a 70 average when they're starting university. So I just had to be really motivated and disciplined with my grades that semester to ensure that they would be high enough so that I could transfer. And then after I received that offer of acceptance, I started to tell my friends at Laurier, and I withdrew from my classes that I had previously registered for. I told the university that I was leaving, and I got some of my residence deposit back for the second semester. I started planning my residence at my new school, Guelph, and I enrolled in classes there. And once I actually transferred, the best way I'd describe it is it's like the transition to university all over again. You're making all new friends, and it's actually a little bit harder because people have already made those friends in first semester, so you really have to put yourself out there. I would say my biggest piece of advice is just to get involved in something that you're passionate about. When I was in the second year, I got involved with the Business Student Association, and it was like the best experience that I had for all of university, best decision I ever made. And it allowed me to meet people that were interested in similar things that I was and that had similar goals. So I think that covers everything that I wanted to talk about. I kind of just wanted to tell my story since so many people ask me why I transferred and what that experience was like. So if you do have any questions, make sure to leave a comment down below. Give this a thumbs up if it helped you, and be sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video.